Hey guys, it's Protendo, and it's that time of year once again. 2021 is reaching its end, and as we approach the upcoming year, we're burdened with a multitude of burning questions. Will our lives return to normal in 2022? Can we expect the world to heal from the chaos that's ensued over these past 23 months? And most pressing of all, what is Nintendo planning? For any Protendo newcomers who've missed this yearly event, every December I like to try and predict what Nintendo has scheduled for the coming year, even though I end up being wrong 90% of the time. In fact, 90 could be lowballing it, 95% might be more appropriate. But we have fun, so does my poor accuracy really matter? Maybe it does, and I just don't like talking about it. Regardless, Nintendo's 2022 is a year filled with both known items and mysteries alike, so as always, I'm going to do my best to try to go through the months and get everything as close to the real schedule as possible. And hey, maybe this year I can kick it up to an 80%. Let's get started. January. As expected by the first of the year, this will be a pretty mid-month for Nintendo. No presentations or new trailers of any kind, but we do get Pokemon Legends Arceus, which will release to mixed opinions online. That's hardly a prediction, honestly. It's a modern Pokemon game that's kind of an inevitability. This game starts a pattern that you'll notice in this video, where if I'm not really into a series or don't know much about it, I just won't have as much to say about it as some other things I'm predicting. I'm not a Pokemon guy, but I'm sure this game will be filled to the brim with Pokemon to capture, music to vibe to, and characters that will be thirsted for by the insatiable grasp of the internet. Pretty much series standard. Next up, February. In comparison to January, February will be a month that appeals to a much larger group of people, including myself. That's right, it's time for the first Nintendo Direct of 2022. And so begins the first year since 2017 where we can't expect a new Smash reveal. But regardless, this will be a pretty meaty presentation. Starting off the Direct, we have the reveal of a new Fire Emblem game. Or rather, a new old Fire Emblem game. The long-awaited Fire Emblem 4 remake is finally here, under a new name, Fire Emblem The Holy War. Once again, I don't know much about Fire Emblem. I imagine that the remake would be in a similar vein to past remakes in the series. Whether they change a lot or keep most things as is unbeknownst to me. What I do know, however, is that Fire Emblem fans will rejoice at the announcement of a new game, and my friends will once again pressure me to play Three Houses after it spent a year sitting in my backlog. The Holy War will get a vague 2022 release window. This Direct will also give us an updated look at a few of the Switch titles coming within the first half of the year. Kirby and the Forgotten Land will get a big highlight during the Direct, showing us a lot more of the post-apocalyptic world that the Pink Puffball is exploring, as well as some new copy abilities like Cyborg and Construction. The game will be released in late March. Splatoon 3 is next, and its new trailer will put a heavy focus on the game's story mode. We'll get a more descriptive preview of the game with the plot at the forefront, showing us more on the return of the mammalians, new level gimmicks, and some of the new tasks we'll have to complete as we make our way through the levels of the single-player mode. The game will come out much earlier than most people think, getting a release date set in April. Advance Wars and Mario + Rabbids will also get brief showings, letting us know that we should pick them up in April and July, respectively. And finally, the one last thing of the Direct. And no, it's not Breath of the Wild 2. I've gone back and forth on whether or not it should be here because nothing feels right. Like, it really doesn't seem okay to have to wait until another E3 to see it again, but the idea of seeing it in 2 months' time is one that I can't put my faith behind. If we do get in February, make sure to come back to this video and tell me how much of an idiot I am. Instead of Zelda, the Direct will be closed with a different legendary Nintendo franchise. We'll be shown a trailer for a brand new Donkey Kong game. To the dismay of many, it'll be 2D, but personally I won't care since the SNES Donkey Kong games and Tropical Freeze are some of the best 2D platformers I've ever played. This time around, DK Island is hit with a full-on assault, sinking it to the bottom of the sea. It's up to Donkey Kong, as well as Diddy and Dixie, to explore the sunken caverns and find the artifact that can restore their home. This doesn't mean that the levels will be solely water-based, however. The caves that DK explores will become more and more varied as the adventure progresses, teeming with greenery and wildlife. And who would commit such a heinous act other than King K. Rool himself, making his formal return to the series? Donkey Kong Country: The Sunken Isle will be released in June. March. This month will actually keep a lot of the momentum going from February. We of course have the release of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, but Nintendo has another surprise up their sleeve. Namely, a Direct dedicated in its entirety to Splatoon 3. Up to this point, Nintendo's given us a few different looks at Splatoon 3, but none of them have really shown us what sets this game apart from its predecessors. But this Direct will change that completely. Nearly everything about the game will be detailed here. New weapons like a spray can, new modes, new maps, the game's 2 new idols, as well as an updated, vastly different Salmon Run mode, in which Marina and Pearl are directly involved. This Direct will also give us an in-depth look at the new hub that is Splatsville and what differences it has in comparison to the previous 2 hubs. Spoiler, not many. And as always, multiple updates and Splatfests over the course of a year or so will be promised. At the end of the presentation, Nintendo will remind us to pick up Splatoon 3 when it releases in April. And speaking of April, before Splatoon gets its time, we'll see the release of Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. You might be wondering why it got delayed by 4 months, but hey, these wars are really advanced. And then of course, Splatoon 3 will release not long after to very positive reception. May is next and literally nothing happens this month. Which makes sense really, it'll mostly serve as a breather before the massive event that is June. As always, this is a big one, probably the biggest one of the year because it's E3 season. And I'll go as far as to say that this will be one of Nintendo's bigger showings in the Switch era. Without Smash to fall back on, Nintendo really has to go all out with their game reveals, and this E3 will be evidence of that. The Direct starts off big. After making us wait an entire year, Nintendo doesn't delay it any further and begins the presentation with a full trailer for Breath of the Wild 2. And the trailer is split into 2 parts. It begins very similarly to the game's first reveal. We see Link and Zelda exploring the caverns beneath Hyrule Castle, Zelda examining the Sheikah Slate as they pass various ancient languages and markings on the walls. But the 2 are brought to a halt after finding Ganondorf's corpse, being imprisoned by the magical palm, but slowly growing in power as his malice begins to escape. Within the chaos, the cave begins to crumble, and while Link tries to save Zelda with the help of his new glowing hand friend, she ends up falling into a deep, dark hole. But before Link can jump down to save her, his new glowing arm teleports him to the surface as Ganondorf's corpse begins to rise. We cut to Link awakening after being sent to who knows where, only to discover that Ganondorf's reawakening has caused the land of Hyrule to rise into the sky, creating floating islands to explore just like we saw in the 2021 trailer. Without his Sheikah Slate, Link is forced to rely solely on his new arm, using various new abilities as well as some that harken back to classic items from the series, like the hookshot. The final shot is of Link dropping down onto the floating Hyrule Castle, Master Sword drawn. But right when you think the trailer is about to end, we cut to Zelda, awakening just as Link did, except the tone is completely different. We don't get a triumphant, freeing orchestra like we did for the 2021 trailer, we get ominous, creepy music like the 2019 trailer, as we're shown a fully playable Zelda for the first time. Using the Sheikah Slate, which she has advanced using her affinity for science, Zelda's able to explore the caverns underneath Hyrule, doing battle and solving puzzles. And this is when the audience will realize why this game has been taking so long. Breath of the Wild 2 hasn't just extended the adventure to the skies above Hyrule, but the caves underneath, creating 2 new and equally enthralling adventures. The final shot of the trailer shows Zelda coming face to face with a rejuvenating Ganondorf. Cut to black. The Legend of Zelda: Soaring Depths will come out in November. After that bombshell, Aonuma will walk on screen thanking us for our patience and revealing the fact that more gameplay will be shown at the Nintendo Treehouse. Following the death of my vocal cords, we'll see some more relaxed announcements. Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope will get a new trailer before its release in July, and Fire Emblem The Holy War will get a large focus, showing many of the updates to the game and announcing a release date for September. After that, we'll get a reveal for a new game in a franchise that has laid dormant for a very long time. And while many might hope for F-Zero or Mother or one of Nintendo's many dead franchises with highly passionate fanbases, the one we'll get will be much more casual focused. Nintendogs. That's right, Nintendo is bringing Nintendogs back for the Switch, and it's essentially the same but with a new twist: dog racing. You can now train your dogs to compete in races in order to win various prizes. Think Duck Life, but with dogs. Nintendogs Rough Racing will be set for December. Bayonetta 3 will get a new trailer after 9 months of silence, showcasing the game's new features and elements? Can you tell that I haven't played Bayonetta before? It will also have additional gameplay shown at the Treehouse and will be set to release in October. Right before the end of the Direct, we'll be told by Mr. Takahashi that development on Metroid Prime 4 is going well, and while they can't show anything yet, they're confident we'll see it soon. But while we're waiting, they have something that they think we'll enjoy. I know, I'm the least original man on the planet, but Metroid Prime Trilogy HD. It makes too much sense. It wouldn't be here if it didn't make so much sense. The games will have absolutely no changes aside from the HDifying and the updated controls and rumble for the Switch, and will be set to release in October. And finally, the one more thing. What could possibly end a Direct that started with the sequel to Breath of the Wild? What could possibly be bigger than Zelda? Well, really, there's only one option here. We're shown Mario's shoes running through an environment we haven't seen before as Bowser laughs off screen. The angle changes as Mario jumps between various obstacles and fireballs, but right before he's about to get hit, he's pushed out of the way by Luigi. The two share a nod, and as they jump towards the camera, presumably where Bowser is, they grab their hats and throw them, the caps donning eyeballs before the camera cuts to black. That's right, Super Mario Odyssey 2. This is like the third year I've predicted this, but I'm going all in because I genuinely think this is our last chance. People will freak out over the small teaser confirming Luigi and possibly co-op, and the game will get a vague 2023 release window. And so ends Nintendo's incredible E3 showing. 3D Zelda, 3D Mario, and Metroid all in the same presentation? Kiss me. The month of June will end with the release of Donkey Kong Country, The Sunken Isle, which in retrospect would probably also get a section in the E3 showcase dedicated to it, but I was a little distracted, okay? July. July will be a much calmer month after the gargantuan E3 Nintendo had, but it'll still have a game release. Namely, Mario plus Rabbids, but it's Ubisoft, so I will not be buying it. August. This will be one of only 2 months in the year of complete silence. Aside from the usual Switch Pro rumors and the September Direct speculation that'll begin near the end of the month, people will spend August content with a new 2D Donkey Kong. September. And back to the chaos. Fire Emblem The Holy War will release pretty early, but as usual, Nintendo will hold a fall Direct this month. And while it won't have the insanely wide appeal of an E3 with both Mario and Zelda, this presentation will make certain groups of people extremely happy, myself included. This Direct will begin in a big way with the reveal of Monolith Soft's 5-year project, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I haven't played Xenoblade 2 yet despite loving the first, so I have no predictions of any kind for this game. But some rumors were saying that Melia might be in it? I am sold! Xenoblade Chronicles 3, after a hefty trailer, will be set to release in 2023. This Direct will contain a lot of trailers for Nintendo's packed final quarter of the year. Bayonetta 3, Metroid Prime Trilogy HD, and Nintendogs Rough Racing will all get brief showings, reminding viewers to pick them up when they release in the following months. Nintendo Switch Online will get updated, adding Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games to the expansion pack, which is the only way I'm going to get the Mario and Luigi series on the system. Sorry, I need a minute. Moving on, Soaring Depths will receive its final trailer near the end of the Direct, showing off some more of Link and Zelda's new abilities, but focusing more on the dungeon-esque nature of the caverns Zelda and later Link will get to explore. Some new features like crafting and weapon upgrading will also be shown off. And last but certainly not least, the final one more thing of the year. And while it might not be as big as a new Zelda trailer, it'll most certainly mean a lot to Nintendo fans. I'm gonna ask you guys something. Why isn't Earthbound on Nintendo Switch Online yet? I mean, you could argue that it's just Nintendo being Nintendo and they've always been this way, but what reason could they have to hold it back for this long? They've already started to move on to N64 games, and yet Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings are the only major NES and SNES games of note that wouldn't pose any legal troubles in regards to getting them on the service that aren't there yet. Are they really that stupid? My heart says no. Earthbound Duology Remake. A remake of the first 2 Mother games with a gorgeous clay art style harkening back to the promotion of both games and set to release in spring 2023. Come on, is this really a Nintendo prediction video if I don't go with something outlandish? I mean, hey, at least I didn't say Mother 3 would be there. What kind of idiot would I have to be to say that? October. Just like 2021, this month will see the release of 2 big games for Nintendo, one of which being a Metroid game. Huh, go figure. Metroid Prime Trilogy and Bayonetta 3 will both come out and, in that order, hold me to it. November. Arguably the biggest non-E3 month of the year. November belongs to Zelda. Soaring Depths won't be released until late into the month, but despite that, it'll be the only thing people talk about for the entirety of November. And when I finally get my hands on it, be prepared to not hear from me for the rest of the year. The game will be universally praised for evolving the incredible formula of Breath of the Wild while including more elements that the Zelda series is more well known for. Very likely a Game of the Year contender, if it doesn't come out too late. And finally, December. After all the Zelda hype, Nintendog's rough racing will unfortunately be forgotten by many, left in the shadows of larger, more exciting franchises. But it'll still release to moderate acclaim. I mean, it's a Nintendogs game, what do you really expect except Nintendogs? However, that's far from the most exciting thing that will happen to Nintendo this month. After their absence in the 2021 Game Awards, many will wonder whether or not Nintendo will even show up to the 2022 show. And they'll use that doubt to surprise us even more thoroughly. After 3 hours of unbearable Game Awards-ness, Nintendo will save the event with an incredible reveal. The first trailer for Metroid Prime 4, followed by a 2023 release window. After 5.5 years, Nintendo will have finally shown footage of this game, and fans will rejoice. And that's the end of Nintendo's 2022. An extremely good year that in many ways feels like a sequel to the Switch's first. And while Smash's absence will definitely hurt, I think Nintendo will more than make up for it with new game reveals. Even if the lack of a new Mario & Luigi game will still tear me apart from the inside. But anyways guys, that's about it for this video. As always, I'd love to hear what you think. Were my predictions reasonable or way off course? And what do you think Nintendo's 2022 will look like? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all later. Protendo, out.